From the Intellifluence headquarters in sunny Scottsdale, Arizona, this is the Intellifluence Influencer Spotlight. In each episode, we sit down with an influencer from our network and we discuss their background as well as their unique approach to influencer marketing. Shawn Coss is a professional artist and entertainer based out of Akron, Ohio. Shawn is best known for his mental illness series called Inktober Illness, which he has used to help raise awareness about mental health stigmas. Shawn is also the co-owner and artist for the lifestyle brand Any Means Necessary Clothing. Additionally, Shawn is an artist for the popular webcomic Cyanide and Happiness. Shawn's style of humor and unconventional way of connecting with his fans on a personal level sets him apart from most other social media influencers. You can learn more about Shawn and view his work at ShawnCossArt.com or follow him on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Twitch. Well, yeah, let's get started. So, Shawn, where do you get your ideas from? I'm just kidding.
I read the FAQs on your site. That's the stupidest question.
I was gonna just be like, you know what? Screw this. I'm out.
I love it. No, people need to check out the FAQs because you obviously get that question a lot. You put that on your website, so we don't have to go there.
So you have been a professional artist for a decade. When did you become interested in art, and when did you decide that you wanted it to be your career? That's a real question here.
Okay, so I've been doing art my whole life. My mom says since I could draw on the fucking wall, I was doing artwork and never really pursued it because my dad was always like, hey, there's no career in artwork, no career in being a creative, just go get a real job. So went into nursing school, and about the same time I graduated nursing school, I met Kris of Cyanide and Happiness, and he goes, hey, you should join this company and be an artist for a living. So I was like, yeah, I'll give that a shot. I'll draw stick figures for a living. And at the same time, it kind of gave me the creative push to start my clothing line with my buddy, my business partner, Michael Nemitz. And from there, we kind of just took off. And I was like, holy shit, I can actually make money with my artwork, which living in Ohio, that's not really something that's normal. You know, here you work your 9 to 5, 12-hour shifts, you know, you go home, drink a beer, watch the football game, rinse, repeat, die.
Nice. And so when did you determine that influencer marketing would be a viable revenue stream for you? And what were some of the first steps you took as an influencer?
So I didn't really think too much about it because I wasn't too familiar with it. I grew up in the era of where you were just content creators and streamers, and then the kind of the influencer term has kind of taken hold now for the masses. But I've always been aware, you know, I've had buddies who used to work at YouTube, work at Twitch, who managed us at Cyanide and Happiness, and you know, he always had his finger on the pulse with influencing. And when my whole mental health series kicked off in 2016, I was exposed to a much wider audience of people who use my work as a type of therapy and helps them kind of express themselves. And I love being in front of the camera. I love being in front of crowds. I travel across the United States at Comic-Con conventions. I do live panels, live sketching, and I feed off of it. You know, I've been feeding off of it since I was in drama back in high school. I just love being in front of cameras and thought I have a somewhat decent personality, somewhat less decent looks. So I thought, hey, I'll try and be an influencer and give those less decent people maybe hope that, hey, they can do it too.
I like it. And you touched on it. So mental illness is a topic that's prevalent these days, and we're interested in the work that you've done. You mentioned the amazing feelings that come from connecting with people who feel like they don't have a voice. So can you share some of what's come from the Inktober Illness series you started back in 2016 in terms of the feedback you've received from the people that feel like they don't have a voice?
Yeah. So when I initially did it, I had kind of like this surplus of new people who were like, oh, dude, I love this work. I love this. And then I had a whole bunch of people hating me, wishing death on me, wishing my kids get a mental illness, like really dark stuff. And my buddy was like, hey, you made it. You got people who hate you and love you. But before all of the mental illness stuff, I used to just do artwork that was super detailed and kind of creepy looking, but had real no weight to it. And creating this stuff that allows people to like, hey, I took this to my therapist and I've been going to therapy for years and I could never really explain how I felt, but this image did it. and this helped me through it. And that first year, I probably got 600-700 different messages, and this is some dark stuff too. Like these people are literally just bearing their soul to me, and at first I didn't know how to handle it. I'm just like, okay, cool. Like they're telling me how they went through, drug addictions, abuse as children, literally just telling me all the darkest stuff they possibly has happened in their life to some stranger who did some artwork that they related to. So it's a whole new, I don't know, like a whole new world to me. And it really affected me. I'm like, okay, my artwork's actually helping people, which is a feeling I've never had before. And kind of like completely changed my whole like outlook on just like my art and self. Like when I create artwork, I try to think more of the human condition, mental illness, because it's helping so many more people, I guess.
Wow, yeah, that's like a whole different component too. I was thinking people didn't have a voice like maybe in society or in the media, but didn't have a voice, like they couldn't verbalize what they were feeling.
Like people were saying like, their therapists would be like, so explain to me your feelings. And like, I just can't explain it. Like, I just feel this way, this darkness, I can't explain it. Like, so one of the people was like, I just had this darkness in me. And the therapist kept asking me, well, describe the darkness. And I go, I can't. And then one day they found my artwork and they said, I took that to my therapist and goes, that's my darkness right there. And I also have a bunch of therapists who use my work in their therapy sessions to kind of help people who have a hard time verbalizing how they feel. Like, okay, look at these pictures. How do you relate to these imagery?
Wow.
Yeah, it's some heavy stuff.
Yeah, but it's amazing the impact that you've had.
Yeah, I wouldn't trade it for anything. Like in a weird way, without offending the Catholic Church, I feel like almost like a priest in terms of like people are literally just telling me like just stuff that they don't tell their family, don't tell their friends, and they just give it to me. Like I could literally just go out and exploit them and go, hey, check out this crazy story, but that takes a lot, especially for people who deal with mental illness. I have my own anxiety issues, my own depression I deal with, and being able to talk to a complete stranger and tell them something puts you in a very vulnerable spot. Like that's asking a lot of someone who struggles with like mental health.
Exactly.
And you mentioned how you started your clothing line with a friend of yours, but you have also worked with a lot of prominent people and organizations. What have been a few of your favorite collaborations to date?
Some of my favorite collaborations, one that came out of nowhere was Seether, the band. Sean Morgan, who is the lead singer, apparently has been a fan of my work for years, and I never knew. And I guess got an email one day. I thought it was some local band with just the same name, and he was like, hey, we want to use your Cult Creatures artwork. And I kind of blew him off a couple times, and then I finally asked, like, who's the band I'm working with? They're like, oh, it's Seether. I'm like, oh, no shit. And now me and Shawn have become friends. We actually connected last November and like hung out backstage, and he's like, here's my cell phone number. Call me anytime. I'm like, this is so weird. That's one awesome collaboration. Another one was I worked on the art production for the movie Cell, which was a Stephen King adaptation. I grew up reading Stephen King. My mom was a Stephen King fan. She read me Stephen King books for bedtime as a child. We used to watch the movies, hence why my art's the way it is. Thanks, Mom. But we lived in Maine, and we used to always drive by his house up there. It was a big brick house that had like cast iron gates with bats. He goes, that's Stephen King's house right there. It was like, Mom, you're a stalker. Awesome. But getting to work with, I didn't get to work directly with Stephen King, but I worked on a movie of Stephen King, and also my wife's a huge John Cusack fan who starred in the movie as well, and of course Samuel L. Jackson. So my artwork's all in an apartment that John Cusack and Samuel L. Jackson's in, and my artwork is John Cusack's character's artwork, which was a pretty big deal to me. And then obviously doing a whole bunch of stuff with Cyanide Happiness. We have a fuck ton of followers, so that's always cool. I was a huge fan of the comic before I started working with him, so I guess that's a very 10-year long collaboration. I don't know.
It's awesome. It's very cool. In a recent post, you state that 2019 isn't ready for what your clothing brand, Any Means Necessary, is bringing. So can you give us some hints as to what lies ahead for your lifestyle brand?
Oh yeah, we're gonna fucking destroy the world with it. That's the plan. So for the last, what do you think, 8 years, 10 years, we've done the clothing line. We never really took it serious until about 2016 when we started incorporating mental health awareness with it. And both my business partner and myself have been able to open up more about our own struggles, to the public. So like, hey, we're not trying to exploit you. We've been able to donate a substantial amount of money to mental health research, which I've never been able to do. And it's probably one of the coolest things on earth. It's like one of the greatest feelings. We never really took it serious, the clothing line, and somehow we were successful. Somehow we always made money and we sold clothing and we had a fan base, but we never knew how to make business plans, budget, anything. And we hired a consultant last year who's had a successful brand, and he's kind of molding us in. Like, we're heading to Agenda in February in Vegas, and we're already working on a couple pop-up shops. We're working with a couple celebrities, like Michael Coulter is a huge fan of our work. If you guys remember, I don't know how old you are, but Holly Marie Combs from Charmed, she's a friend of mine now through traveling conventions. So we're starting to connect with people, I guess, that are influencers, celebrity influencers, that actually like our stuff, and we're gonna get our eyes on our clothing into a lot more eyes, hopefully this year. But we're ruthless. That's the name, Any Means Necessary. That's how we lived our whole life. My buddy, he grew up homeless, living in meth labs, and now he, runs a company, has 2 awesome kids. I grew up Tiny Tim, poor, living off food stamps, my dad stealing MREs from the military to feed us, and now I own a clothing company. I do art for a living. I have 2 awesome kids. I just bought a brand new house just from hard work, and like, we literally breathe and live the lifestyle of Any Means Necessary.
That's so great to hear, and you have all these different responsibilities, and you're also an ER nurse. How do you balance everything?
I don't. So I never left the nursing because having 2 kids, I need health insurance. If I didn't have kids, I would have told my wife, you're on your fucking own, don't get sick, I'm leaving nursing. But I always have this fear that the moment I quit nursing and I don't have health insurance, my kids are going to get sick, they're going to need like a $60,000 surgery. And I like the medical field part. There's some things I definitely don't like about it, but when I was real young, I always wanted to be a surgeon. I wanted to be like a doctor, and I said, screw that, 8 years of school, no, not going to do that. So yeah, I do 2 days a week in the ER. I still see a lot of stuff. It's nice being able to help people, and I like to have, I guess, my eggs in a whole bunch of different baskets, I guess.
Too many.
And where do you see influencer marketing heading in the next 5 years or so?
Honestly, I think that's where marketing's going to happen. Like, brands aren't going to be reaching out to the celebrities. They're not going to be reaching out to the athletes. They're going to be looking at people who have a more personal connection to, their fans, like micro influencers, and, people who have like 5,000 fans, but those 5,000 fans listen to every word that person says. Like, I think that's going to be the next big change. I don't know how that's going to help me with having 100,000 fans, so maybe the brands will just overlook me, like, fuck that guy, and he swears too much, we're gonna go with the guy with 200 followers. So this whole time I've been trying to build my audience, it's working against me. I screwed myself, I'm fucked. But I think the micro influencer is going to be probably where it's going to be. They can get more bang for the buck. It's almost like the whole podcast system. Radio was like the way to go, and advertising on radio was the way to go, and then podcasts are like, well, we can pay less money, which is still a lot of money for a podcast, and get more, listeners. Like people like Joe Rogan's podcast, Sword and Scale, and True Crime Garage. Like, they have a bunch of sponsors, and if they're paying them like $2-3 grand as opposed to 20 grand to a radio station, like, that's awesome for the podcast, and it's awesome for the brands. So I think yeah, definitely the micro influencer, you're gonna see a bigger trend towards. I hope. Mm-hmm. Except for not for me, that'll fuck me, but I hope for my friends.
Well, hey, and if the guy who swears too much has a higher ROI, I'm still going with him.
Right? I'm like, dude, fucking buy this shit. If you buy it, I'll stop swearing. And when they buy it, I'm like, fuck you, I lied.
Love it, man.
One question.
Yep,
Okay.
Sammy's got one more question.
Why do you swear so much?
No, I'm probably right there with you, to be honest. Because you said you are an RN nurse. Have you heard the show The Resident that takes place in a hospital?
Yeah, I honestly hate every fucking hospital show out there. Honestly, the most realistic one was probably ER back when George Clooney did it, but even that was still borderline. A little clarification for people: doctors don't start IVs. They never start IVs. They don't wear stethoscopes everywhere. I don't get offended if they wear a stethoscope. Like, I'm not that type of nurse. Like, I'm not like Nurses Week and all that stuff. But when I see them starting IVs, I'm like, no, they don't do that shit. And they don't help them to the bathroom. They'll go in and do their talk, and they'll go, hey, that guy needs to shit. They're like, you were just in there. They're like, yeah, I'm a doctor. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. But yeah, they do a lot of important stuff, but a lot of like the minor stuff or spending all that time with a patient, no. What is it? Scrubs had a great example with Dr. Cox. Was the whole thing was about, so you want to spend 30 seconds or less in the room. And that's literally what doctors do. And it's not because they don't want to be around the person. It might be. But usually a doctor in the ER, they're seeing all of the patients. So they don't have time to be spending 20 minutes hearing their life story and then going to the next patient. So most of the time, about 98% of the time, those doctor shows are all bullshit. Even the nurses ones, Grey's Anatomy too. A bunch of people aren't banging in the back room. We don't have a break area that's got beds.
Not House, right? John, plug your ears. Our camera guy.
Oh, House, yeah. I liked House for the first season, but then every season after, it's the same goddamn thing. It's, hey, this person has some weird ass fucking disease. House comes in. Well, no, sorry, not House. The team tries all these tests. House goes, you guys are all fucking idiots. And then House is doing something like masturbating, and they go, oh wait, an epiphany. And then he fixes it. One time I want him to go epiphany, fix it, and kills him on accident and go, shit. Loses his license, goes down to a fucking rabbit hole of fucking pills, hookers, and then go, okay, that's reality. There we go. So sorry, cameraman. House sucks.
I know it's not realistic.
Oh, man. Want to join Intellifluence as an influencer for free? It's easy. Visit Intellifluence.com, click on the influencers link, and then click on the Join for Free button to sign up. Once you have registered, you will get immediate access to our influencer marketplace where you can browse relevant offers from brands and apply on the spot. You'll also be eligible to receive attractive product and service pitches from brands. There's absolutely no cost to join as an influencer, so we hope you take advantage of our service. Also, be sure to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and well, you know the drill. Until our next episode, keep being awesome.